told me you had an insight, okay? You had an intuition about when a certain event occurs, then another event is going to happen, right? Yeah. And what I want to tell you, what I've been trying to impress on you, is that some of the sillier spiritual games that people can get up to, okay? And absolutely the worst one, or one of the worst ones, is believe every thought you have, and that and it's like particularly the ones that are almost like a little bubble comes up in the mind, it goes poof, and there it is, Yeah, and people call that intuition. Now, what I've been showing you is every thought you have, if you remember the conversations about the 8-legged spider. Yeah, and so we're going to call that an insight, okay, or an intuition, a thought, okay, a thought that's got a lot of charge on it. It's a very powerful thought. And you see that if that insight came true, you would grieve, other people would grieve. Yet on the other hand, if the insight didn't come true, it might be worse, might be better. In other words, you don't really know. Yeah, and so you have to actually learn not to trust the thoughts in your mind. But you also don't want to totally dismiss them, okay? Yeah, and so you have a thought like that, and that's really what happened, is you had a thought. And somebody said something or something happened and boom, this thought came. What you do if it's troubling, well, first of all, it's troubling you because you feel sad. Right? And you worry about if it came true or didn't come true. In other words, what I mean is it's a very emotionally laden situation where people are going to change. They might grow up. It's like nobody knows what's going to happen. Yeah. So you see, and the people that this insight was about, they themselves are trying to learn more about dealing with a complex relationship in a complex world with family, financial responsibilities, and so what you did is you took a thought and changed it into an emotion. And we've talked with you before that, this is me, and I say we, I mean, the beings that work through me, your guides, and me, have all talked about how you like to be upset and depressed. Something that's 2 years away in the future, and nobody really knows, because it involves their choices. And so here's the point. Actually, there's 3 points I want to make, okay, right in a row. First, I'm going to call it intuition or insight you have, don't believe it, take and turn to your other tools. Take that idea and turn to your other tools. And stabilize it. Because you see, an intuition that appears in the mind is really, at best, only it's weak, because it just comes from one source. And you yourself haven't processed it, from enough different perspectives. And if you don't do that, what it does is you start putting spin on your conversations around these people or your interactions around these people based on a little thought that came up in your head about a situation that you don't know what is or isn't going to happen. And you see, you're welcome. You're welcome. It's like you finally learned enough. Whew! It's not like you're warming up, but you finally have absorbed enough. So you see, that intuition it could be an end or it could be a seed. Do you understand? Yeah, and you don't know till you like discuss it with us, or talk about it with some other people, and you don't believe anything anybody else says either. You know? Yeah, but then take it and turn to you, in your meditation, or in your dreaming, or when you're walking, or in the dance, in the heart chakra dance that we teach. And it's like, and what'll happen is, if it's a true, like, prophetic insight, then not only will you understand it, you'll prepare for it, you'll prepare not to be over or under involved. And if that insight is true, you might very patiently wait for certain indications, to where you might extend certain invitations or certain, or it's like, and so this is just, and so again, one of the ways of explaining what I've been showing you is that life has spiritual, emotional, physical, very complex situations, and that, so it requires observing yourself and observing life and observing things like these insights from as many possible different perspectives as you can. Because an insight like that without the right kind of support just ends up being hurtful to yourself, Yeah. And worry, I want to say, worry is a part of our processing, okay? But worry is different from, I want to say, enabling yourself to get sick. Is I want to say, mature concern and worry. That's two different words, And so, absolutely, you got to pick your heart up from your belly button and put it back in the center of your chest. Yeah, that's good. And and so this is us talking for just a second, okay? We overheard you talking, to your buddy Dale, to your teacher, about, there was a knot in your belly. There was a fear, concern in your third chakra that was causing you to have difficulties, with some of your tool use, okay? And so, this is something you want to think about quite a bit. We're sorry for interrupting your conversation with Dan. Is anytime your belly feels, frightened or fearful, forget about saying it's tense or there's a knot. You want to put the little fingers of your little self-healing diagnostic fingers down there into that knot and put an emotional label on it. Even if it's wrong, don't worry. At least then it's like, is instead of us saying it's a physical pain. Unless you ate something that's bad. You see, just by attempting to name an emotion, it's a different part of the brain, and it actually ties into the endocrine system, which includes the immune system, and that. But the little tender joke we want to make is, focus on trying to pull your heart back out of your navel and put it back in the center of your chest. The chest. Yeah, the navel belongs. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, this is almost like it's the heart chakra belongs in the heart zone. So the power, the authority of self is in the navel. And it's like yeah. So watch that little heart dropping. Because who knows, in 2 years that may be an absolutely valid prophecy and would do everything for everybody that you sometimes suspect would be best. about you, it's important for you to strategize to be in the place of representing the truth that everyone deserves respect and love, and you understand. Because it might appear that you might be suffering, that truth might be suffering a temporary loss, but sometimes situations get better when falsehood moves closer to falsehood, and the person finally goes, wow, let's find more truth here. Sometimes many illnesses have to have a fever before the body will rally and get rid of it, you know. And so be happy that you've had a true insight, okay? And it was a true insight. However, there was more to it than what you received, okay? That's right. That's right. And that's what you want to say. And so what you just told me was the heart came out of the navel, the heart's back in the chest, and you're respectful of people's choices and people learning to communicate and get closer and closer and closer to truth. And that's what you really love and need to support. Yeah, what you're saying is that you're going to support choice, support truth, support wisdom, support love, support, you're going to support what needs to be supported. And that's all you can do. So the most complicated thing about dealing with life, as particularly as it is today, is you have to choose. Are you going to support the people you think need you or love you, or are you going to support love, honesty, truth, and it just happens to be, sharing that with everybody, and some people you get to share it with a little bit more states. That's what the golden rule states. Support what you need. And that's all a person can do. Particularly, that's right. And you already knew all of that, and everything's great. And again, you got to watch when that heart falls out of its place, and sometimes it falls all the way down to the feet or onto the ground, and that's because you're learning to pick it back up. First, you're learning to see it falling, recognize it, recognize it's falling, pick it back up, and then think, and use the other tools we've taught you, okay? And you'll arrive at, it'll either solidify it or change it, or you'll, ask your spiritual guide, yourself, that little spirit that, is with you everywhere. It stands at the back and going, what are we up to next? What do you think about this? It's like it... because it is. Yeah. It's here to help guide you in a very, very complex situation right now where hardly anybody really has everything that they really need in terms of peace, relationship. Oh, well, it's nice to hear your voice too. But rarely do people listen like you. And you're doing good.